Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your Washington Commanders update. And I am your host, Seawall, checking in as I love to do to give you the latest and greatest information on the Washington Commanders. I'm going to make sure I give you all an opportunity to get in the live discussion room so that we can talk all things Washington Commanders. You know that we have to always get through our housekeeping items. As always, I have to give you all this reminder that this is a live Bowie television recording. Everything we say and do here just might end up on the Tizoo. You can catch the Coaching from the Couch series every day on Bowie TV, Verizon Channel 11, Comcast Xfinity Channel 77 from 1:30 to 2:30. Washington Commanders update, weekly DMV sports update. We have a lot of fun in this form where we talk all things Washington Commanders, but you can also catch a Thursday show where we talk live about all things DMV sports. You all, have you checked in? Because I definitely want to know what you all are feeling and thinking about the preseason. But before we jump into that, Mama Waller is actually in Seawall Studios. She's actually in the building for certain. So everyone, when you jump on in the chat, make sure you say hey to Mama Waller. And as always, make sure you say hello to Pops Waller as well, because he's always somewhere watching in the wings for certain. So we're going to get started. As everyone is checking in, we'll first do kind of a recap of preseason game 3. You all know over the years, I've kind of changed my opinion and my thoughts around preseason. Preseason is important. Preseason is important for a lot of people, especially for these players. While it's like, let's hurry up and get over preseason so that we can get into the NFL regular season, you all may have seen me post on my stories or on Twitter that this is a really tough time for many of the guys who are experiencing cuts, are experiencing trades, needing to move suddenly to another city. So keep those things in mind. Yes, it's a fun time from a fan perspective, overall NFL perspective, but it's also a very grueling time for players and their teammates as well as the coaches. So if you're ready to get on into the episode, before we get into it, let's go ahead and catch the highlights from preseason game 3. Hope you all enjoyed that recap of preseason game 3. Shout out to Darrell Owens, videographer and photography from Bowie TV himself and from Legacy Maker Sports Network. Shout out to Darrell. I saw a couple of folks jump on in. If you just joined, you are now watching the Coaching from the Couch series, Washington Commanders Update. I am your host, Seawall. Make sure you all hit that love button, like button, and share this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends. I've seen a few folks jump on, like Eric Jessup and my big brother from Hampton, Chris Moore. If you've checked in, let's go ahead and get started into the fan engagement piece of this. Now that the preseason is over, there's something that I like to do called, and you all know this game. If you watch the show, then you know this game. It is called What's Your One Word? And it is what, and every time I always ask, what's your one word? So, what's your one word to describe a certain thing? And in this case, I want to know, Commanders fans, what is your one word to describe how you're feeling now that the preseason is done? I want to know your thoughts on the team and what you saw thus far in the preseason. Drop your one words in the chat. I see Tamika Rector has checked in. Drop your one word. Definitely want to know your thoughts here to see, what are you thinking? How do you think things went? I see Lamar Bland has responded with hopeful. Chris Moore says underestimated. Tamika Rector says that she's pumped. It's a lot of different words that I could choose. I always try to give myself some time to figure out what word I want to use. But I think for myself, here's the word I'm going to use. It's a couple of different things that I want to use. Oh, well, hey, I see Tina Moore has checked in, and Mama Waller even put her vibe into it and said that she's excited. I should have told y'all to go pick 2 words. Okay, but my one word is progress. Progress for certain. My other word, if I ever had a choice to have another word, is culture. And I see Eric Jessup says here that he's encouraged. And if you're just checking in, make sure you hit that love button and share this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends, because we got a lot to discuss. Okay, we got a lot to discuss. First, progress has a lot to do with what some of you all have already said around being pumped, excited, encouraged, hopeful, all of those things. Progress, I'm seeing a different team. I'm just seeing a different look and feel. I'm seeing a different approach to just everything and how they're building camaraderie. And I want to kind of share a bit, and this leads into my other word of culture. I really want to share about my training camp experience, because typically after now, technically training camp is over, right? They're doing roster cuts. And while we're on the line, there may be some more news of more cuts coming through. Of course, the Tuesday, 4 p.m. is when the cuts are complete or should be complete. And then we know there'll be changes through the waiver wire and all of those things. But from progress to culture, I've just witnessed a different team. They're just different in how they interact with each other, and how they just approach every single rep, how they engage with the coaches, how they engage with each other. Not that it was a problem at all before, but it's absolutely now it's just abundantly clear that they're checking themselves. They want to get better every single play. I want to bring up what Coach Eric Bieniemy made a comment, and he used the word about Sam Howell saying he autocorrects. Well, here's the thing about that. Absolutely, totally agree. You all know I've been trying to find the word to describe Sam Howell. Like, he makes a mistake, but he fixes it quickly, right? Coach Bieniemy comes in there. Of course, he has the right word to say. He says auto corrects. Here's the thing about that. Sam Howell is auto correcting. So is everybody else. And I want to use the word culture because it's shifting, it's changing, and all in great ways. I mean, even the tempo of the practices, just the level of, like I keep saying the word camaraderie, and just, for example, they do this thing now in practice where you'll hear him say, get down the field. Whoever has the ball on offense, he runs all the way down to the end zone, even if that is not necessarily what the play requires. That's what happens. And then when they get all the way to the end zone, guess what? The offensive line runs down there, all the rest of the running backs, the wide receivers, the tight ends. Now they got the defense. They join in on everybody running into the end zone together. It's really cool to watch how they just all go to bed. And then let me just further this. And I see Tina Moore's comment here about they cut Patterson, and I know that Mazdak has joined. High five to Mazdak, Seawall Chaplin. High five to Damon, who joined in as well. I know you all probably heard when it was like, okay, players were concerned about EB's approach. Ron Rivera said, hey, go talk to him. Everybody's fine. Okay, cool, right? That was never a distraction. It was never an appearance that there was a problem per se. I don't think there was. I think there were just questions about his meaning Eric Bieniemy's approach. Ron Rivera encouraged players, to go and talk to Eric Bieniemy. Everybody understands. Everyone's on the same page. Everybody wants the same thing. Then you may have heard that there was pretty much a debacle of sorts at practice. So I think I may have even shared on a show, hey, it's time for these guys to hit somebody else. That's all. It's just hot. They've been wearing, they're in pads, and it's hot again. It's the heat, and they're in pads, and this is a lot of aggression, and they're just ready to hit somebody else. Can't wait for preseason game 1. Okay. So all of that happened, right? Yes, things got intense. They all needed to do whatever they needed to do to continue to course correct and auto correct as a team, and bind together. They played preseason game 1. We saw them bind together in an amazing way in joint practices against the Ravens. And then they played Ravens Monday Night Football, ended that streak. They played the Bengals this past weekend. You all just watched those highlights by Darrell. And now they're coming out of the preseason undefeated. While that's not necessarily a big deal per se, I'm going to go back to culture. Do you know how many stories previously would have spun out based on that one bad day at practice? But none of that happened. You want to know why? Because there was no need for any of that to happen. Things get heated at practice. Things get intense. People get, emotions start flying. Everything starts going haywire. It happens. But these guys are building such a culture that, yes, it got out of hand, but now we're going to come back together because we are a team. We are brothers. We are family. Cut day is hard. It sucks, actually. It's pretty bad because they're all a family. They're all in that together, right? So you couldn't have your family off, and that's hard. That's hard, but that's the business. And everyone understands that, even though it's very hard. But they're going to continue to root for each other and continue to be there for one another. And this is absolutely the vibe you want to see. I posted something on my page the other day, and I see Melvin Roberts, hey there, Crab, has checked in as well. And that's this. And I definitely love button fire emoji. I'm going to keep saying it because this is a very, very important point. Commanders fans, listen to me good. This is the first time in over 2 decades you're going into the season with no drama. I mean, love button, fire emoji. Share this with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends and say, can everybody say no drama? Put that in the chat. Shout out to no drama, because that's what it is. For the first time in over 2 decades, it's no drama. None. None. I will assure you, there's none. Okay. So be grateful. Enjoy this moment because it's a real one. It's a real one. For the first time in a long time, everybody can just focus on football. Okay? For that alone, I want y'all to be excited. I really do. And we're going to get into the muck. We got to get into the roster cuts. But for that alone, for sure, y'all, I wouldn't gas y'all. You all know you've been watching this show for years. You all know I come on here and I speak the truth. I'll tell you, listen, this is kind of sad. It's bad. It needs to. No. No, 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 no. Mm-mm. And Tamika Rector says it right here. The black cloud is gone. It absolutely is. It's blue skies. All right. The sun is shining. I see Brandon Carley's point here. Very, very important point. And I wanted to stay there for a minute because even as media, you stand out there and you see things and you be like, oh God, right? I haven't done that one time. Now that day when it was getting kind of rough and everybody was upset, all I could say was exactly what I said to you all, and it's time for them to play somebody else. Because this is my nerves are bad. But even in the moment where it got rough, I heard, and Coach Rivera said this in his press conference, so I feel comfortable reiterating and repeating what was said out there. And it was Chase Young saying, oh, when Terry get mad, you know it's serious. So when a one leader notices another leader is now upset, very highly upset about what's happening, everybody come together. And that's what they've done. And you can't, this is a good spot considering all that the franchise has been through. Can I be transparent with y'all about something? Let's talk a little bit about this preseason undefeated thing. Can C-Wall be transparent for a moment? Love button, fire emoji. If you're okay with me being real honest with y'all about something, about this preseason undefeated situation. Now, I feel like I'm holding this piece of information. I'm not even sure if I told my Commanders media family this. I think I uttered it under my breath. Talking to David Harrison from Locked On Commanders, we typically sit right next to each other. So he deals with a lot of my foolishness in the press box, but it's always good foolishness. It's never bad foolishness, okay? I said to David, and then Felix, Fox Sports 1340 AM, you can tag them and tell them I'm talking about them because I am. I'm talking about myself, but they're dragged into this also. And that is, I said, oh, the Commanders haven't been undefeated in the preseason since that second RG3 year. And that second RG3 year was a bad year. And it makes me nervous and it upsets me every time I think about it. So now I'm nervous because that's the paranoia, try to get the superstitious stuff to get away. But here's the difference in that. The team is just different. Right? The culture, going back to the word culture, everything is just different. So that's just like a little funny thing that I do. You just got to ignore me on that one. But I think it's also a testament in a real life example that whether or not you're a fan or media, you have been scarred by the franchise. You have been scarred. That even in a moment of glee, wow, they went undefeated in the preseason. And it wasn't necessarily like Sam Howell balled out and this one balled out. No, the teams played. These were good preseason games. These weren't like bad football games. These games were really good, right? But the thing of it is, it made me even realize within myself that you're so scarred by the past that you immediately think about something negative that has absolutely nothing to do with today. I mean, that was 10 years ago. The guys on the team now were kids. They were in elementary school, so they don't even know that kind of hurt or that kind of scarring or just that kind of post-traumatic stress disorder that everyone, myself including, can be feeling like, oh my God, the last time this happened, the season, they only won 3 games. It was terrible. Got to get past that. Got to get past that. And so that's what I had to even share with everybody here. Like, you know what? This is like a thing to say, oh my goodness. And I love this comment here from Lamar. Exactly right. It's survivor's remorse. You can't bring yourself to. I said it is happening in the media room. It happened in the media room as well. It's like everybody. Exactly right, Tamika. You think of something, you hear a song, and all of a sudden, and I see Kim Perry has entered the chat as well. I said it's just you hear something and you immediately panic, like, oh, I remember that day. And Tina Moore, you're right. That wave, and listen, going back to the wave, even Coach Rivera had to mention the wave in his press conference. He said, I mean, they did the wave. And I mean, I hope they didn't pick it up on the press conference, because I said they sure did about 5-6 times around. They absolutely did the wave. And I sat there and said, oh my God. Something to think about. And something I wanted to share with you all, because it happens. It happens. Now we got to move on to the conversation, because it is a tough one. Who they've released so far. Again, I know a lot of people are fans of the hometown favorite, Jared Patterson. Of course you are. Of course. We all are. But this is just how it is. Here's the list so far. We know that this list will grow. We know that more names will be added to the list. Offensive tackle rookie Braden Daniels is placed on IR as well. So we know that everyone is happening, but it is what it is, you all. It is what it is. We know that this is going to happen each and every single year. We know that the rosters have to be cut down to 53, and the hope is some of the favorites that couldn't make, everyone can't make it. We hope that they don't get picked up, or maybe they do get picked up. Who knows? But perhaps that they'll make the practice squad. What they'll have to do is see if they get through the waiver wire. They have to see if they hit the waiver, see if they get through, and maybe they'll be able to get signed on the practice squad. But that still kind of remains to be seen. It has to get cut down to 53, which happens on Tuesday at 4. That's their deadline, I should say. So as you've been hearing, multiple teams, the Commanders included, are going through cuts. We're just going through the process. So let's keep going. I'm not going to hold y'all to the certain times, because I'm going to pull up a couple of pictures. And I want us to have a conversation about players and what we're expecting and what everyone is excited about in seeing these players for this year. Do y'all want to go on? And before one that's going to pop up, and I may need to just go ahead and do his first. There is an article out. Go check it out if you haven't already on commanders.com from Brian Robinson. It's been a year since he was shot and robbed and carjacked in DC. The article is a great one. Definitely check it out. Everybody's just so proud and so happy that he's okay. and that he's the Washington Commander. Um, I will tell you all, I watched Brian, or he just signed a lot of autographs. And to the point where, I mean, that's just what he wanted to do. He he never wanted to leave. It was like, okay, now people are now negotiating with Brian. Like, look, you got to go inside. You're gonna miss a meeting, you know. And he has a very big heart, as he shared in his press conference. And to watch him want to sign as many autographs as he could, to watch him even on that first day of fans being at camp, go all the way from the top of that ramp. If you've been to training camp at Ashburn, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The top of that kind of ramp hill there, and go all the way down that white fence and dap up every single fan that was standing alongside that fence. The team and franchise is blessed to have him. So up first, yep, Brian Robinson here talking to Coach B and me. Shot, all these shots captured by Darrell Owens. And what are y'all looking to see? Bold predictions for B Rob. You know, did anybody pick him on your fantasy squad? And yes, to Chris Moore's point here about things that we all thought of when B Rob had his accident, and yes, it was rough. Any thoughts on B Rob? Of course, just thinking about him having a great year. You know, he shared in his presser that he feels like himself. He didn't feel like himself, you know, probably all last year. So he feels like himself, and we're happy that he feels like himself. And we know that he's going to have a big year. Love button fire emoji if you are anticipating B Rob having a big year. I can't get to all players tonight, but we're going to try to get to as many as possible. Logan Thomas has been dealing with this recurring calf injury. And so here's one thing that I've learned through preseason, and I don't know if you all learned that too and saw that too. I think this team needs Logan Thomas, a healthy Logan Thomas. Let me be real clear. A healthy Logan Thomas. And I think that a healthy Logan Thomas would absolutely thrive in Coach Eric Bieniemy's offense for sure. So here's to hoping. It's about another week or so to week 1 against Arizona. So here's to hoping that Logan will be set to go at least in the first few weeks of the season. Who thinks Jahan Dotson is going to have a big season? Who thinks that Jahan Dotson is going to have a big season? I do. I think all these guys are going to have a big season because they have a great offensive coordinator. So yeah, let's you know, all the good things. Here's what I want to bring up. Real quick. Commanders Ravens game, when Terry went out, there were several plays where Jahan got the ball like every play. They were just going to run it. And some of it was the same play. Because it was in-game practice. That's what it was. And that's why I said, no, y'all, you have to appreciate what they're doing and what they're putting forth, because this is good football. This is them in-game action, real game simulation. And like I shared with you on the previous show, Sam Howell gave y'all a tidbit. He said, well, we practice this all the time. And so we were in the game because Coach Bieniemy puts us in real game situations. So Jahan's gonna get the ball a lot. And I'm pointing because listen, and here's another thing. We didn't see the ball get thrown a lot for obvious reasons, you know, in the past. Coach Bieniemy is going to use his tools, as you all can see, and they're using it as an opportunity to get better. And definitely we're going to, and I see Melvin Roberts comment here. Don't have my picture of AG today, but let me be very clear. I've been talking about Antonio Gibson since OTAs. Go ahead, love button, fire emoji, because I absolutely know that Antonio Gibson is another one with the big year for certain. This offense, I mean, can we just be honest about something? Why are we still talking? Let's just be honest about a few things. Even with the offensive line not being, everybody's new, an offensive line, their first time playing together, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback, right? But we all saw them progress. That's what you want to see. I'm not disappointed by the preseason. I'm actually not concerned. Everybody else's were. You have to remember, I watched it every day. So I was able to say, even from OTAs, what the difference was from OTAs, from the first week of camp to the second week of camp, to the day all hell broke loose in camp, to the day everybody was friends again, and to the day they played preseason game one, to joint practice, to Monday Night Football against the Ravens, and progress. That is what you want to focus on. And that's exactly what this team has displayed. I don't necessarily say, and we're going to get into season predictions for games in a future episode before the regular season officially starts on September the 10th for the Commanders. But I'm good with preseason. I'm not disgusted. I'm not disappointed. I'm none of the above. I'm like, hey, they're getting better. Good for them, because the season is long and it ain't easy. Moving along to the defense, Cameron Curl, because we know that this is a contract year for Cameron. We know this is a big time for Cameron. What are you looking to see? Keep your eyes on KC. And KC does not mean Kansas City right now, people. It means Cameron Curl. All right? 3-1. Making plays, keeping his eyes on the ball. Expect some big plays from him. I got more people to talk about. KC is one of them. So drop in the chat what you're thinking about from that perspective on defense. And we're going to go back to the offense in a moment. But I'm going to stick with the defense and a couple players right now. And I see Chris Moore's comment that says, pay that man. And as Lamar Bland knows and has been listening to the press conferences when Cameron Curl said that he cares more about picks than money. That's exactly what he said in a press conference. BSJ, Benjamin St. Juice, how y'all feeling? Both Cameron Curl and Benjamin dealt with some injuries toward the end of last year, so we want to make sure that they're healthy and feeling good. I think, again, another player who wants to have a big year, who felt like they could have done more last year, but looking to have a breakout season. In this picture right here, like I said, all pictures taken by Darrell Owens himself. You got Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Jamin Davis, Derek Forrest. I've been saying this, and I should have had a picture of Jack Del Rio, because this got to be Jack's year. All right. Players, absolutely. Right. They got to do their thing. They got to ball out. But for me, I'm like, hey, look, Jack D, Del Rio, JDR, you the happiest man on the planet right now. Because for certain, you got everybody you want. And you've been able to keep them together for an extended period of time. Every player that you wanted to pay and keep, that's what you've been able to do. So this is a big year for Jack. It's a big year for this defense. And my thing is this. When I say it's a big year for this defense, what I mean is this. And y'all have heard me say this many times, and I will continue to say it because it means something to me, all right? I have to have it in the back of my head. The defense has to perform in a way that it shows up on the scoreboard. Period. I was always so impressed, and I laughed quite heartily when I watched the Netflix series Quarterback. And if you haven't seen it yet, be prepared for this spoiler alert. When in one of the episodes, Kirk Cousins was talking about the Commanders game, and he's like, I don't know who hit me. I don't know what happened, but they were like, I I'm I don't know. I'm hurt. They was like, you be all right. He got tackled by Duran. Okay. That's what happened. But here's the thing that also happened in that game. The Commanders lost. So he remembers getting hit. Probably will remember that hit for the rest of his life if it ended up on TV in the series. But to lose that game, and I remember that game distinctly. I know as many of you do as well. You got to win stuff like that. If you're gonna ball out like that, I mean, I need you to make it plain. You're not coming out of here with a W, Kirk. All right, it's not gonna happen. Not on our watch. That's what I want. That is what I want to see from the defense. Where they remember getting hit and they also remember that they lost the game. Because what's the point of remembering getting hit if you won? That's no fun. Well, not for the Commanders, I mean, But it was many games, and yet we can go back to quarterback play and all those things. But my point is, because it's exactly what was in the chat about Lamar Bland. Jack got everything. He was the happiest person on the planet draft night. I'm gonna keep telling you all that. It's happiest person, all right? It's got to show up. It's got to make game impact. Seriously. Everybody thinks the Commanders have a long window to succeed and develop. I just don't believe they have it. I think they got 1 year, or else they're gonna start shaking some things down. They were a game out of the playoffs last year. So, hey, I don't think anybody's going to say, well, you got a new quarterback and a new offensive coordinator and a new offensive line, and that is going to be a good enough reason to not make the playoffs. That's just how I feel. I just feel like they have got to show up and show out. Very small window. And I know we're not going to get into season predictions, but let me say this before I close out. Let me be real clear about something about this as well. And you all can start to place your bold predictions in the chat, because we're going to go through your bold predictions. I want to hear your bold season predictions. This is going to be fun. I'm going to start collecting those. So start dropping those in the chat, and we'll talk about those some more next week. But here's what I know. They can't go into Philadelphia on October the 1st winless. That cannot happen. No way. Absolutely not. In my opinion, they got to be 2-1 going into Philly. Absolutely. At the least. And the one, I'm giving that to the Bills. Okay? I'm giving that to the Bills. Arizona, they're figuring out their quarterback situation. I think I saw Kyler Murray won't be available. They released Colt McCoy. They got some challenges going on in Arizona. You need to go ahead and punch them in the mouth. First week, it's supposed to be a sold-out game. Go ahead and handle business. Easy money. I want to go back to the preseason doesn't matter. Well, ask that. Well, go. Have you watched any of these other teams during preseason? These guys are hype. The players are hype. The coaches are hype. Everybody is hype, wanting to win that game. Go and tell the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs that the preseason doesn't matter, because in all of those games, they're watching the scoreboard, they're watching plays, and they're trying to win. Whenever they're on the field, the objective is to win, period. Matter of fact, if you haven't watched the quarterback, go and watch Patrick Mahomes, who wasn't letting any game go past him if he could help it. That is the mindset this team has to have. It can't be a we'll get them next week. No, I'm gonna get you today. And then whoever else I got to play next week, I'll deal with them next week. But today, we own you. That's how they got to run this. Nobody's paying $6 billion for to lose for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 2 games. It's not gonna happen. So this has to make a statement all throughout the season. You got Pro Bowlers on defense. You say, hey, you got all your weapons that you say that you needed and that you wanted on offense. You got the offensive coordinator that you said you've been missing. Get out there and win those games. You win that game at home, go ahead and go on the road, go to Denver, beat them too. If you end up losing to Buffalo, I would recommend that you don't lose to Buffalo because that's a home game. But if you do, okay. But what cannot happen in no way, shape, or form is they be 0-3 going into Lincoln Financial Field on October 1. Whatever you do, don't do that. Okay? Don't do that at all because no. And here's another thing. I see this comment here. A game stolen by the refs. I don't want to see that comment no more. I don't even want to see it. We ain't got to worry about no refs doing anything. Because when you beat people fair and square, then you ain't got to deal with no refs. So we not going out like that either. To have to say, well, the refs did that. No, if you would have just beat them, the refs are a mute point. That's how they got it. That's how they got to look at this. Seeing a lot of big, hey, Emmanuel Forbes, man. I've been talking about Emmanuel Forbes. Y'all been hearing me talk about him since rookie camp. Wow. Wow. The fans, y'all have been tremendous. Tremendous. I'm talking about all through training camp, at every preseason game. I've just been happy. I've been relieved. I feel like I can do my work in a good way and focus on football in a good way, in a positive way. And I see the comment here that Forbes makes me grin. I mean, he's just a ray of sunshine, isn't he? And everybody else along with it, because everybody else is falling suit. Everybody else is as well. This has got to be your year. And let me be clear. I'm not up here talking about, oh, they about to go to the Super Bowl. That's not what I said. What I said is they have a low margin of error for the regular season. And there's just going to be time periods where you just have to you can't go to Philly 0-3. That's all I'm going to say. It can't happen. Don't let it happen. Statements are made week 1 to week 17. Period. All this developmental stuff, all this whatever, however people think, ain't nobody doing that no more. That's played out. I've been saying that to y'all for the last couple of years now. If you're looking around the league, nobody else is talking about that developmental stuff. It takes 1, 2, 3 years to develop. That is an old school mentality. They do not do that anymore. These owners pay too much money for these players and these teams. They want to win today. They want to see the return on their investment right now. That's what they're going to have to do. Listen. If you tailgate, I still want you to tailgate. But I also want you to make sure you get in the game on time. Because this is going to be some good stuff. And I think you will probably agree that you already see a different team. You already see a different approach. You already see a different sense of urgency. You already see a different tempo. Go ahead and get your popcorn ready. I've been telling y'all, Commanders fans, it's okay And I'm telling this to myself too, right? As media, sitting in the media box, I'm like, oh God, the last time they went, it's okay to be excited. It's okay it's okay for me to enjoy my job again and enjoy what we are going to watch. Y'all ready for the season? I think y'all are. Love button or fire emoji if you are ready for the season. And I meant to go through the game themes. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead because I think this is important. The game themes, and we'll go through them more, but is week 1? I don't even know who's wearing what. I should know that. They always got a lot of stuff going on. So listen. Tina said they're wearing white on the first game. Okay. So there you go. We'll get through all of those later. But you all, as always, thank you so much for watching. You guys have always been a lot of fun. And hopefully we won't be tuning in on Mondays looking sad. So you all, again, thank you for watching. Make sure you can still share this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends. We have a good time, don't we? Here's to a good season. Let's all hope. I'll be seeing you guys again soon.